First, a deep gratitude to Ma Ganga for bringing us all together, not just in this hall, but the 30 million that come together every 12 years. What a magical party for creation. My dear friend Ghanshyam Rathuri, the person who wrote the songs for the Chipko movement, where 40 years ago I began my ecological activism as a young student. He used to call the Kumbh Mela the biggest party for which no invitations are needed. Everyone is welcome. And it's not just for a particular birthday, not just for a marriage anniversary. It is celebrating all of creation in her timelessness. I want to thank Swamiji, Puj Swamiji, for the initiative to bring us all together as the Ganga Action Parivar, to put the minds and hearts of all of those of us who care in this country about the Ganga, from all our different perspectives and skills and backgrounds, the scientific, the spiritual, the children, the mothers, the pilgrims. Because when this energy is pulled together, it is more energy than any political party can ever pull together through their vote banks. And that is the process, I believe, that's underway at this Green Kumbh and will build up. As Puj Prem Babaji said, it is a river. The Ganga is not just a river that's flowing as water here, but is a river of inspiration that will travel around the world. The two rivers that meet here, the Ganga and the Yamuna, actually start very close to each other up in the mountains. And my valley, the Doon Valley, they're only separated by 60 miles. On one side is the Ganga and on the other side is the Yamuna, and they flow clean. As you said, Reverend, nature doesn't pollute. Nature doesn't know the term pollution. And the rivers start flowing, and we have managed to pour so much filth, so much pollution in the illusion of development. As a child, when I would go to the Ganga, not just in Haridwar and Rishikesh, which were home, but along the Ganga, wherever we traveled, we just go drink the water, bathe in it, and it's known that the free-flowing river has the potential for self-cleansing. It's been biologically and chemically proven again and again and again. The problem is when you start damming up the Ganga and preventing her from cleaning herself, not carrying all those amazing organisms and minerals that make her special, which make Ganga Jal so special. That is why one of the very important aspects of the Ganga Action Parivar is to allow our Mother Ganga to flow aviral and nirmal. Aviral means without blockages. Dams are like the cholesterol for the river system. And just like it's bad to have cholesterol block your veins and you get heart attacks, if you block up the veins of our living ecosystem, then we are going to have ecological heart attacks and economic heart attacks. The Ganga is the richest soil of the world. You can go on. The Amazon is so beautiful, but you hardly have soil. The leaves make the soil, that's it. Below it, there's no soil. Here you can go meters and meters and meters, and that alluvial is the silt the Ganga has brought down the mountains. It's a gift of the Ganga. The fact that down in Bengal, you can have 4 cultivations a year is because of the Ganga. She is not just a spiritual and sacred lifeline. She is physical and economic lifeline of this country. And that's why the story of the whole descent of the Ganga of Bhagirath is about how the world had been desertified. And then Ganga was asked to come down and make the planet green again. And at one level, we have to now tell ourselves that we have abused that gift. And we have to bring the Ganga to her full generosity and her gift giving again by removing the obstructions and the pollution. Now, the obstructions and pollutions have a third component to them, and that is the river keeps getting diverted for two reasons. One, to meet the limitless water appetite for ever expanding cities, which are also not a natural growth. When you make agriculture unviable and you throw people in the cities, cities will grow. If you make agriculture viable by respecting those who look after the land, people stay in their villages. I remember when I was in Rio for the first Earth Summit in 1992, and my little son was with me, and he was shocked by the number of street children and then how they were picked up to clean Rio for the delegates. They were thrown into army trucks and thrown 200 miles out. In these 20 years, we have street children, and they are facing the same because they've been uprooted. Because the definition of a bad growth model is no one should be in the villages, no one should grow food, everyone should be sitting at a computer miraculously. Only 0.01% of India is employed in the IT industry. 0.01%. And we imagine that's the whole economy. But it's not even the 1 billion in human beings in India who are the economy. Economy is derived from the same word as ecology. They both derived from the word oikos. As ecology, it becomes the science of the household. As economy, it becomes the management of the household. But the river, Ganga, is the one from whom we need instructions of how to run our economy, the household. And yet our definitions of the economy have only become how much money flows. So the more you pollute and the more you have to clean up, there's more money. The more people get ill, the more disease there is, there's more money. The more polluting industry you create, there's more money. I should have arrived at 5:30 this morning. My train only arrived at 12:30. Why 6 hours late? Because there's something called a fog, which I believe is a fog and smog. We didn't have this earlier. Our winters, the sun used to shine bright. Because we've got a model of agriculture that says you can only grow food with chemicals. You can't grow food without chemicals. And those chemicals need water, so you have to grow food with a lot of irrigation. And all of that water saturating the soils, evaporating, is creating so much moisture in the air that in the winter season with a low inversion layer, it's just coming down near the ground and blocking visibility. So trains can't run in time, buses can't run in time, flights don't take off in time. For those of you who've come, I'm sure if you came on a day where the fog was dense at the Delhi airport, your flight was late. These are all externalities. And the externalities because we don't think like the river. We don't think like nature. We don't derive our lessons from how nature has created growth, nature has created abundance, nature has created renewal, nature has given us no waste, no pollution, because everything is about recycling. And that is the moment of this renewal that Prem Babaji mentioned. It's a renewal for rethinking all our obsolete and old paradigms. And I do want to thank Sadhvi Bhagwati for the initiative for organizing this Shakti festival. Now Shakti, the word Shakti is derived from Sak, which means the capacity to act. The capacity to act, meaning, and to have power. So when people will, very often when these days you talk about energy, everyone only thinks of nuclear energy and hydel energy or coal energy. As if energy is only about consumption. Energy is something you consume. But what the divine feminine allows us to recognize is energy is something you generate from within. And there's no limit to it. Because the universal energy is limitless. And that energy connects us all together. Let me just read out from my book on climate change, because I got a bit fed up of thinking of the climate question merely as one as how do you produce electricity or fuel for cars. Whereas the climate question is how do we live on this planet in ways that we don't dismantle the amazing cycles of balance and renewal that this creative planet, Gaia, we call her Gaia, has given us. So Shakti is the primordial power of creation, the self-organizing, self-generative, self-renewing creative force of the universe in feminine form. And Prakriti, which is closely linked to this, which very often is the reference to nature and the earth, Prakriti is the first action, the first creation, which is why the Kumbh Mela. Now the first creation doesn't need anything else. Prakritik kheti, agriculture in an organic, ecological, natural way, doesn't need anything from outside. It needs love and care. You recycle the organic matter, goes back and creates your soil organisms. The soil organisms give you fertility. Fertility gives you good food in abundance. You harvest some as seed, you eat the rest, you sell a bit of it. Nothing is short. You're not short of anything. And yet with the distorted idea of what is action, what is work, what is growth. See, this is Seva and the divine. To not have to ask for water and not to have to pay 12 rupees to Coca-Cola, who stole the water in the first place. Thank you so much. And during my years of activism, this beautiful gesture, you go to a village in Rajasthan, the women will have walked 20 miles for that one pot. But you enter their home, because you as a guest are the divine, they will give you a glass of water. Never ever ask, do you need water? They know if you walked, you will need water. What has been evolved is such a major error in terms of how we think of nature, how we think of ourselves, what you were saying, Chandni, how we think of our place, how we think of progress, and how we think of growth. Now, we've reduced nature to dead matter. She's dead. Whereas Prakriti is an expression of the divine feminine. Every tree, every leaf, every river, every drop of water that is in the Ganges and in every other river, every seed, all of food, it's all part of the divine.